All right, so today we're gonna review NBC's Nashtucky Bourbon and Rye, Fred Minnick's number 2 and number 4 from 2024. Let's get into it.
So NBC, from what I remember, is founded in, I think, 2018, right before COVID. When they started, they went to MGP and they would taste different different floors of the warehouses. And once they tried them, they would just buy the whole rung of them.
Okay.
And bring them back down to Tennessee and Nashville and age them in the Nashville heat compared to Indiana heat, which makes a huge difference.
For sure.
I mean, it's opening up the barrel, and allowing the whiskey to actually, get a lot better flavor, in my opinion. Everybody can get MGP. Not many people can get NBC. And that's the big difference in the heat to me. And so what they do, that Nashville heat, just compared to Indiana, is just night and day difference. But they're putting out amazing stuff. I mean, James and Michael are phenomenal guys. Customer service is top notch when you go there. I mean, I've done several barrel picks there and you won't find a better place to pick barrels. And a better group to work with there too.
They're just real responsive. I reached out to them the latter part of 24 and asked if I could do a live interview with them. And Mike instantly put James on the email and said, hey, you guys figured it out, let's get it going. So February, I'm gonna actually get a little time to sit down with them and do that. But I was actually talking to them about the bottle when I was looking to buy it, because I saw Fred's and I wasn't really familiar with the Nashtucky, and I'm looking on NBC's website. And I like that NBC will ship to Alabama. Mm-hmm. So that's really nice too. The NBC Honey was the first one that I got, and it showed up at the door, and I was like, oh wow, you got my business, right? But really excited to be able to do a live interview with them, and just the fact that they would respond to somebody like myself that's just getting started in the influencer arena meant a lot to me. But then the more and more of these that I try, the more I like it. My neighbor Jeff, that does some videos with me, had come to, I think it was the Crawfish Bowl last year in 24.
Yeah.
And he tried the NBC Honey and was blown away. He said, but wait, there's another one there that he said I actually won, and it's called the Killer Barrel. And it was a barrel pick that the Birmingham group did, right? Yep. And he pulled it out and I tried it, and I was like instantly a fan just off of those 2 bottles.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. I know it's gonna be bad to say, I probably have 50 to 70 different NBCs, all different picks, and then I have multiple of a lot of the picks.
Well, and I know that the other day we went to Atlanta and went to a few spots, and there was a rep there that was kind of talking trash about NBC.
He was.
And you asked the store owner, you said, hey, I have a couple bottles, you were really being modest, I have a couple bottles in the car. Can I bring them in and let you guys try them? We were sampling some store picks there. He's like, by all means. So he goes out and gets his duffel bag full of 500 NBCs and comes in the store, and we start popping NBCs, and this store rep shut down. Like, he was blown away. He's like, that is not what I remember about NBC. So apparently, maybe like anybody else, when they got started buying these bottles, blending, doing the thing that they do, maybe they struggled a little bit up front, but they've really found their place in the market, and I think a lot of people are probably sleeping on them. I do know that, in my opinion, that their price points seem a little higher, but my perception would be that the barrels that they're picking is a higher quality, more aged juice, right?
Right. Well, they did a Founders Series when they did their first, I think it was 12 or 14. That was the first 12 or 14, I can't remember the exact numbers, of barrels that they picked. And they saved them for their 8-year release, and they just released those. Okay. And those were aged in Kelvin barrels. And they're all phenomenal, every one of them. I've had, I think, 8 out of the 10 or 12 there are. I've had 8 of them, or I have 8 of them, and they're all phenomenal.
Kelvin makes a huge difference. Seth, when he started at Detling, started aging in Kelvin barrels, had some leakage issues, and moved over to independent stave, and it changed that flavor profile to the point where he's now going back to the Kelvin, and we've got some age on those, and I'm excited to see those coming. But that's where I learned that there's a clear difference between these barrel manufacturers, these different cooperages, and I guess just the way that they're sourcing their wood and the way they're charring it, I don't know. But nothing was wrong with independent stave. Kelvin was just better.
Right. And I will say, I don't know where they source from in Kentucky. I think it's a few different places, but their Nash Tucky line is sourced from Kentucky, brought down to Tennessee, which you wouldn't think, you know, a few 100 miles would make a huge difference, but the climate change is definitely different. And so you can have a Kentucky, you know, distiller, which I don't know where they source from, so I'm just going to throw out a huge one. I mean, let's throw out Wild Turkey. And then they bring it down to Nashville, and it's completely, you know, different game changer from that heat. And you wouldn't think that that much heat difference would make a difference, but when it's opening and closing that wood, you're getting more flavor.
For sure. Yeah, the more you can get it in and out of the wood with that heat change, the temperature change, right? Being hot's one thing, being cold's another, but being hot and cold in the same day, or, and you know, over time, it's going in and out of that wood, it's aging.
Which I think Nashville is like the perfect location, because they do get a true winter. I mean, it's not an Indiana winter, you know, sub-zero, you know,
right.
You know, and snow all the time, but they get snow, you know, once, twice a year like we do, and it also helps open and close those barrels, I think. And that's why I think that the, you know, NBC brand is better than the MGP brand, and better than the, you know, Kentucky stuff. And you, like you said, price point, they are a little pricey, but you got to think they've got to ship all those barrels from either Indiana or Kentucky back down to Nashville. So that's a huge charge on them, I would imagine. And then not only that, but they're buying them young, and then they're aging them there. So they're sitting on these barrels for years. And so you got to think price point on that. But my thing is
yeah, they're experiencing the loss, right? They're not buying them after the loss. They're buying them before and losing whatever angel share goes. So.
Exactly. And you don't know what you're going to yield. I mean, I have barrels from there that are like 72 bottles, and I have barrels from there that are like 211, you know? So I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if it was the difference in, you know, they're not far off on barrel number, so I know it can't be, you know, where they just not filled enough at MGP. You know, you'll never know. Or was it, did the Angels get, you know, the most of it?
I would think a lot of it would have to do with where it sits in the rick house and how long it sits in the rick house. Is it in a hotter, you know, closer to a wall, closer to a ceiling, or is it more centralized and closer to the floor? I think that makes a huge difference. I know Buffalo Trace with like the George T. Stags and stuff, those are all down in the very bottom, and they live there for 15 years, but then you've got
and they're centralized.
Yeah. And then you've got the benchmark that lives up top, you know, so, but it's only a 4-year time frame, so probably not experiencing as much loss up there. But that's something I think we don't take into consideration as a consumer, is the amount of whiskey these people lose to get that age on it that we like, and we all get caught up on age statements, right? And they're relative, just like you're saying. An age statement for Indiana juice versus an age statement for an Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana juice, they're not apples to apples. You know, stuff down south is going to age much more quickly. You know, a 6-year juice down here is going to be more like a 10-year juice up there.
Right.
You know? Well, look, so these are the Nashtucky line, which there again, I wasn't familiar with these when they first come out.
And what'd you say the price point were on these?
You know, I don't remember.
They were close to 100.
You know what? Now that you say that, they were 75 to 77 a bottle.
Yeah.
But then I paid the 25 shipping. But you could get multiple bottles for that 25, and I screwed up and waited too long on this one and had to buy it from another buddy, but bought this one online and had to pay 25 shipping. So if you're buying multiple bottles, that $25 is well worth it.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot that goes into shipping, man. When you look at the boxes and the packaging and the, you know, the actual postage that you pay, and then their time and labor, you know, $25 is not unacceptable.
No, not.
My wife, if she sees free shipping, she's all over it. She doesn't care if it costs $100 more.
Right.
It's just free shipping.
Yep.
But she's not going to pay $25 shipping. So these are, you know, the Nashtucky line, and they're to pay homage to the fact of, you know, the proximity to them sharing borders of states. And then, like Brandon has told us, they've gotten creative with where the juice came from and where it aged. So he and I are going to take a pour of these and see what we think about them. Obviously, Fred thought really high of them. Oh man, that's nice. It's got some viscosity to it. It's got good color. Let's see that. So the first thing I'm thinking is sweet oaky, like a light brown sugar and some oak. Maybe some like.
I get leather on the nose.
Do you get leather? It's definitely pleasant.
Oh, very pleasant.
I'm not picking up. I'm not picking up like any fruits or anything.
Maybe like a
that.
tobacco-y leatherish.
There you go. I can get the tobacco on it. Let's see what it's like on the palate, man. Cheers.
Oh, that's dang good.
I don't know if you got into my head, but on the palate, it was like a sweet leather, like with then just a hint of tobacco. But man, that is really nice.
On the finish, I get a lot of like vanilla tobacco. Like, I guess that's where you get the sweet, maybe a sweet.
Like a vanilla.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's really
And I haven't
good.
even looked at the bottle, so I don't know what the proof is, but I'm gonna guess probably one 112, 113.
I was thinking 115 or so, yeah. It's 120.4, man. I wouldn't have guessed that.
No, me either.
And I mean, that being, you know, fresh crack, we just opened the bottle. I opened it right at the start of this video. So, man, I don't know how to properly articulate that. That is really, really, really good. Like, for a $75 bottle,
You can't beat it.
give me a couple cases of
Yeah,
that.
you won't beat that.
I don't know.
Is it age stated? Does it say how old it is? This is craft blended small batch. So this is a blended whiskey. And I didn't know that. I didn't even know they did blended stuff.
And the other thing that I noticed on this one was it had distilled in Indiana on the label, but they X'd that out with a stamp and it says distilled in Kentucky. So what I will say is it can't have a ton of age on it. I'm thinking 8.
I don't even think it's 8.
You don't?
I think maybe 6 to 7, maybe 6 to 8. I'd go 8 on the high end.
Okay, I agree with that. And the reason I'm thinking that is because it has a really good flavor, but it's not super concentrated at 120 proof. Like, the finish is there, but it's not a ton. Like, so I base everything for me off of George T. Sag 23. That's the best finish that I personally have had. Like,
Right.
It's one that when it hits you and it rolls on it, the flavors just start rolling through like a story. And then that finish is just as strong as the mid palate. Like, it just hangs there. This one falls off a little bit for me, but there's still a great flavor in my mouth. A lot of like vanilla and honey. I would like to see it with a little bit more age on it. It's absolutely delicious.
It is. I think, as far as flavor wise, I think it's perfect where it is. You know, they have some NBC stuff that is, you know, 10, now 12 years old, and their stuff is phenomenal. I had a 12-year rye from them that's out of this world.
That's gonna be something I need to try.
But compared to their younger ryes, those younger ryes hold right there with those 12-year ryes.
Really?
Yeah, that's why I said I don't know if the age would make it any different. And I don't know the age on this. I wished it was on there.
So I've not had a bottle from NBC that was questionable. I'm a huge Rare Character fan, but what I'm learning with Rare Character is I'm very subjective to what it is. NIO or RIO, TKO, yeah, I'm gonna be okay with those. You start getting into some of those others, they don't hit the same for me.
I've only had 2 Rare Characters that I just absolutely love. I've had several that I didn't, but.
Do you remember what the ones you had were?
I don't.
I didn't. I mean, there is no age statement.
You
on
tried
that
one
at all.
over at the house the other night, didn't you?
I think I did.
And you didn't like it either.
I didn't like that one at all.
Was that a TKO?
God, I don't remember. Now I have a NIO up there that you need to try. It's fantastic. It's a Buster's pick out of Memphis.
Okay.
I ended up buying a second one. It is, in my opinion, it's that good. And their exceptional is really good as well. And when you get to drinking all these different whiskeys, some of the stuff runs together, right? And then you get to really comparing. They're not apples to apples because they're not aged in the same places. They're not the same mash bills. They're not aged the same duration. That all matters.
Oh,
you know what I mean? But NBC is consistent for me. Like I've not had one yet that was just okay.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's not a just okay one. And I haven't had a bad one.
What's funny is you say that. There's a bottle, I don't know who did the pick, but it's called Just Okay.
Just okay.
But it's phenomenal.
Well, we'll try the rye now and see what we think about that, man. The glue broke on the top for the cork on this one, so I had to get creative to get the cork out. I'll get that glued back. I got heavy on that first one. That one doesn't seem, yeah.
Looks can be deceiving.
For sure. Well, you can right off the bat tell that that's a rye. So this one says distilled in Indiana. This one says distilled in Kentucky. They marked over it. So obviously we know that's definitely MGP product.
I mean, the legs, I don't know if you can see it in the glass or not.
So does that come off more floral to you?
Yes, very floral. Floral, minty.
For sure. And I don't care for floral much at all. I'm not a big Four Roses guy.
Yeah.
And I've always heard characteristics of rye going to a mint. I'm not a fan of those usually. So I'm very hopeful out of everything that I've said that this one palate's a little different. That's exactly what I'm getting, floral, mint. But it smells good. Like it's not off-putting at all. Try it, cheers. It's floral and it's delicious. I don't like floral. That is delicious. Dude, the finish on that one is better than the finish on that one in my opinion.
See,
I'm gonna put them top. Do you really?
I think the finish is long and amazing on this one. I feel like on this one it's like mid to long.
Yeah, it's not as long, but man, it's so like
It's
sweet.
very, very sweet, smooth. I'm not gonna say your typical NBC rye, but I will say underneath it is your typical NBC rye. That's just, to me, they have the best ryes on the market. It's not even close.
So when I was watching Fred do his top 100 and he was drinking the 25, top 25, there were certain ones that sat him back in his seat and you could just see him like just savor them. And I can see where he got that on these.
That second sip is...
Right? Totally different, right? That is really good.
You can't beat that right there. That's so good.
No, you can't. Okay, if you need another pour of that, get it. You were 100% spot on. This one is a lot lighter in flavor. It has great flavor, but it's lighter. That thing compared to that,
Oh, there's no
that's
comparison
got
to
a
me.
ton of depth.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm going this all day long.
I honestly would like to blind this versus some high-end stuff.
What would you put it against?
I don't know, but that's
Because I was gonna say, if I've got it, we could do that right now.
one of my top. I'd say that's one of my top 5 NBC bottles I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good.
You like that better than the Killer Burn?
Do you have the Killer?
I do. It's not open, but it can be.
Let's blind it. I think that one's gonna blow the Killer out of the water. And I picked the Killer, so
Right?
like I think
All right.
I really do.